You're live. Go ahead.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a superstar panel for you today. I don't even know how you guys got everybody on board for this one. This is pretty amazing. We have Ephraim, aka my husband, with Tactical Logistics. We never did this before, so this is strange. I'm not even gonna lie. It's like this is strange. Yeah, so welcome Ephraim. He just joined us. We have Brandon Young with Data Dive, also super successful seller himself. We have Andrew Morgans, runs a superstar agency. You guys will explain further, whatever the introductions that I'm giving you on right now. We have Lisa Abel with Buy with Prime, the Amazon team. We have Chad Rubin with Prophecy. Welcome, Chad. And okay, and then of course Jana, my co-host. Jana, hello again. Love those.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
And then last but not least, we have Jacob Neuman with Canadian Tax Compliance. And we have David and Lenny in the background from Lenny, AZ Seller Kit, and then David with Amazon Experts. Okay, so I guess Yoni, I'll just give you a shout out. Why not? Yoni with Gatita, always the man behind the show, making sure that everything is running smoothly. Thank you, Yoni. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into it. I'm not gonna bore everybody with all the details. I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves one at a time. Ephraim, if you let us get started with you. Our audience is really excited to be speaking on Prime Day coming up very soon. Obviously, everybody wants to know the best tips and tricks and things that they could implement from their end so they are as successful as possible. I just want to let everybody know this is an open forum, so if you have any questions, please put it into the chat box, and if it's something that comes in during our conversation, we will definitely ask our panelists to answer your question. We're gonna go for at least an hour. We might push it an hour and a half, and we'll see how things go. But we do have some of the smartest people in the room right now, so we'll see. As motivated as the audience is, that's as long as we're gonna go. Max 2 hours. Sorry, guys, we're not gonna do more than that. So we'll get started. Ephraim, you're up. Okay, ready?
I'm all ready.
Okay, so what are some key strategies or best practices to guarantee prompt product delivery into Amazon warehouses? I know this is something that sellers are really worried about heading into Prime Day. Obviously, no inventory, no sales. Take it away. Tell us what your advice is.
So there's two ways how to look at it. One way, it's kind of too late. If your product is still at your supplier's door, it's kind of late to get it out on a sea vessel and get it into Amazon. You still have an option to air ship in product. If your product is here in the US and a 3PL, your own warehouse, I would, basically what I'm seeing is in the East Coast, New Jersey area, where a lot of products are going into Amazon, California, LA area, San Francisco area, that whole area. Amazon is extremely congested as we speak. A lot of sellers are having a really hard time getting product delivered. That's with Amazon partner carriers or even third-party carriers where they have live unloads, having a hard time getting appointments on time. So that's one thing. The second part is that once your product gets received by Amazon, and most standard size products usually go to transload facilities, where from there it gets offloaded and goes to multiple different warehouses. And that process takes around now 3 to 4 weeks. So even though, let's say you're going to get your product delivered on July 1st or July 5th or July 10th, and I made it in before Prime Day, keep in mind that your product will most probably go into FC transfer for a week, 2, 3 weeks, and that could really affect your sales on Prime Day. So what I suggested is basically making sure today is June 1st, you have probably a month and a half approximately till Prime Day, is plan the FBA shipments this week. Try to send them in by, I would say, a month before Prime Day. That's probably going to be somewhere between June 10th, June 15th. Send it in, and then you're giving time Amazon to actually receive your product in time, and you have it in stock. So when somebody places the order, it's not going to show on the listing saying that, oh, it's going to ship in 8 days or in 10 days. that's when the product will be in stock. It will actually ship right away. That's one piece of I would suggest doing them before Prime Day. Second part is that there is Amazon partner carriers, and then there is Amazon live unloads where that goes only through third-party truckers. The benefits from using Amazon partner carriers, it's very cost effective. It's very cheap. If you're looking really to save on if your profit margins are slim, Amazon partner carriers is probably the better deal financially. The only issue is that with that, you're going into a gambling game. You're not going to know when Amazon is actually going to check it in and receive it. And then plus on top of that, it goes into FC transfer. So you could talk about right now in LA, I'm looking at 7 weeks, 6, 7 weeks, if you're using Amazon partner carriers till it's actually in inventory in Amazon. Using a third party, we do it. There's hundreds of truckers out there that do it. Is basically they make appointments on Amazon, and all these appointments are live unload. So they don't drop their trailers in Amazon's yard and walk away from it. They actually have to get physically offloaded from the trailer, and then they can leave. Automatically, that triggers that Amazon has to check it in, receive it in Amazon, and that's when your product actually, you can see it being live on Amazon. The only thing is that it goes into FC transfer, where that takes some time. So if you keep those two things in mind, using a third party versus Amazon partner carrier and sending it in, I would say a month in advance right now, just based on the congestion that I'm seeing with our customer base, I think you'll have a real successful Prime Day being in stock and being able to sell them.
Okay,
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a question. Can you share some of the success stories or case studies that you had? Some of them that, like was very unique, and, some that, the clients actually overcome the obstacles and achieved efficient delivery, like to Amazon. Can you share some of that? That's always interesting for the audience to hear.
Sure. I have many stories. I could write books on, but over the years, but one that just happened like literally 4 weeks ago is somebody reached out to me, and they have a very successful business on Amazon. They do approximately 50+ million on Amazon. And how they did it, they're a big corporate company. They do a lot of retail, and then they do Amazon as a pretty big piece of the business. And all their shipment is they wanted to get quickly into Amazon. They had no idea how to do that. They only thought about, UPS is going to get that delivered the next day, so let me go with UPS. So basically, they brought in around 150 containers in like a half a year period, where every single box went from their 3PL into Amazon by using Amazon SPD, that small parcel delivery, that's UPS. And they're basically spent hundreds and thousands of dollars more by using SPD option versus using a trucker. They didn't want to use Amazon partner carriers because it was not reliable and stuff didn't get in check in time. And I told them, like, hey, there's option that you can use a third party carrier where you have a live unload. And that basically changed their whole profitability of that year, basically by making that switch where they had no idea. I mean, there's a lot of sellers that are large sellers, there are smaller sellers that don't know what the difference is between using a third party and using Amazon partner carriers. The difference is the live unload piece, where that's a huge vital piece, especially when it's Q4 before Prime Day. Any times where you're running out of stock and you literally have very little stock available and you don't want to run out of stock, because obviously that's a death sentence sometimes to your listing, that's an option. So that was a real eye opener to them. So I always talk about it when I meet people, is like making sure they know about that aspect. And not because I'm trying to gain trucking, it's okay, business is business, but it's just an educational piece where they can really learn and understand the best practices, how to get product into Amazon the quickest way.
That's great. That's great. Great advice. Thanks a lot. I think we have time for one of the questions from the audience. So this one is from Suraj. I hope I pronounced that right. And he says, my product is best-selling in my category, Browse Not, but I haven't received bestseller rank yet. The old bestseller is the Browse Not had the badge when it was on top. Is there any sales threshold needed to get the badge? I have made approximately 60 sales so far. So Suraj, thank you for the question. Frame, can you maybe answer that?
I think there's better people that would be able to answer that on ranking. Um,
I don't know if Chad or
I'm
Brandon can step in
Yeah,
here
maybe
and help out.
Chad. Yeah.
I'm
sorry,
more
maybe Chad.
I'm more outside the box. I'm not involved in the actual unit selling on Amazon.
Got it.
Brandon,
Got it.
I actually, I think Brandon's the guy for this question, so I'm gonna give him the microphone.
Such a
Yeah,
humble,
so
humble crowd.
bestseller badges are based on being the fastest selling listing on a subcategory, and not all subcategories have badges now. They took away a bunch of badges. If you've only made 60 sales, it's probably one of the categories they took it away. But you would go into the subcategory and make sure you're number one, but not number one new release, that you're actually number one for that subcategory. And if you are number one for the subcategory ranked on Amazon, you should have a badge, but if you don't, it's because it's one of the subcategories that was maybe too slow, so they took it away.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm gonna end with one last question for you, Brian, and then we'll move in. Andrew, if you're up, if you're good, we'll go with you next. Is there any common mistakes or pitfalls that you would say to Amazon sellers at this point in the game regarding logistics on getting their product in? What should they be aware of, or I guess what shouldn't they do at this point as they're getting ready to launch for Prime Day?
There is a couple places, but I would say overall logistics, capacity and things like that, outside of Amazon. I mean, like Amazon, what's going on there, I don't have a clear explanation why they're being so congested in Q2 of the year. That didn't happen last year and happened this year. That's a separate conversation, and I could try to have different reasons for it. But there's a lot of sellers that got major increases in the last 2-3 years for the logistics. That's for freight forwarding, supplies like pallets, trucking costs, drayage costs, and a lot of these pricing came down. Not everything came down, not everything settled, but a lot of the pricing came down, especially in ocean freight. I bumped into a customer. They became a customer, and he was telling me that he was still paying $8,000 a container when everybody was paying $3,000 a container at that time. And so, like, you're really being taken advantage. That's on the ocean freight side, or on trucking, where trucking basically is half the price where it was a little more than a year ago, and people are still trying to charge the high trucking rate where they used to charge and make money. So I would say basically what I told people, like, end of 2022 for 2023 is basically do like a doctor's checkup, like, and check up your logistics. A lot of things have settled and gotten better. So make sure that you are negotiating and you're getting the best prices, or ask around other sellers what they're paying, so you can really save on costs. We know we're in the year of inflation. We're trying to get it better. Definitely on the logistics side, there is some areas where you could definitely negotiate and get better deals, so you're more profitable on Amazon. So that would be probably my advice.
Okay, sounds good. Excellent. Thank you, Ephraim. Very, very helpful, and I'm sure the audience is getting a lot. Okay, so Andrew, ready?
Ready.
Let's do this. Okay, so I will just say for myself, I really always enjoy speaking with you and your team. Very, very intentional with the way you operate, and I can say for myself, when our team is communicating with your companies, they're always at a complete different level that what other agencies are working at. So it's pretty amazing. So I just want to make sure I'm saying that. So first question I have for you, what are essential steps sellers should take to prepare their advertising campaigns before Prime Day to ensure success?
Okay, so one thing I want to just start off, speaking to advertising, is that we have a lot of other experts on the panel. I'm sure there's even experts in attendance today in their own way. Advertising is a very subjective thing. One way that someone might go about it, the tips I might give today might not work for you, and you might need to go a completely different direction, or you just might believe, something different. I've been doing this like 12 years, and I can tell you that I've heard everything possible in regards to just how to do things. And honestly, I hear different ways in how I'm doing it, and it works for people. So keep that in context as I try to go through some of these tips and just like things to do in your business. It's obviously you have to put it through your own lens of what's good for your business and what's working. But whenever I'm speaking to ads, I just like to give that little disclaimer because there can be a lot of nuance differences and strategy differences across the board. So to answer that question, essential steps sellers should take to prepare their advertising campaigns. I actually took some notes, so I want to be sure to get through these. But I think you should ensure adequate budgets. I know that sounds straightforward, it's 101, but absolutely make sure that you have budgets set in place that are going to be able to get you through the day. And if you are running any Prime Day coupons or deals, the second tip would be to make sure that those ASINs are being properly focused on within your advertising strategy. So you don't want to go to the trouble of setting up Prime Day deals, Prime Day coupons, lightning deals, promotional cross-selling, and just not be getting them the firepower and attention they need. So keep that in mind when you're setting up your campaigns. What might get you through most of the year, you might want something different in regards to budget allocation for those. And then I honestly, during Prime Day for my team, we set up multiple reminders throughout the day to check in and just make sure that something hasn't broke. Okay, so you might be doing all types of stuff. Maybe you're a one-man show, one-woman show, shipping orders, seeing the sales come in, all those kinds of things. But one thing you could do to kind of help yourself out is on that day, set several calendar reminders to just pop in, check on your ads. If you have an agency, maybe you're working hand in hand with them if you're running it yourself, and just make sure that anything very important to you didn't stop running or get suppressed or run out of budget. You can miss a whole lot of sales and a big opportunity simply because you did more than you thought and you didn't get to check your ads until 3 or 4 p.m. or something like that. So the last one is another simple one. Ensure all of your ASINs are being advertised on. There's so many shoppers on Amazon. Sometimes your profitability strategy might be like, I just want to advertise on my MVPs, or like you're directing a lot of your limited ad budget to certain ASINs. Well, on Prime Day, make sure that you're advertising across the board. You want to make sure you're getting as many eyeballs as you can during this time of high traffic. And then lastly, make sure you have retargeting ads on your top ASINs. I saw a question earlier about how to use sponsored display the best. There's a lot of issues with sponsored display across the board in regards to reporting accurately and what's showing in the dashboard. But I do believe that at the end of the day, sponsored display retargeting is a great way to capture all of the traffic you're getting throughout Prime Day. And this is a hot take. This is my biggest question, because I think there's a lot of tips here that aren't like tweak this, tweak this, tweak this. It's these little things to think about to just make sure you end the day strong. And this might be a hot take, but reduce bids across the majority of your advertising campaigns. Increase budgets. I'm saying increase budgets, but overall decrease bids so your bids last longer throughout the day and you're not competing for the #1 bid placements. I want to have proven historically to be very expensive days when it comes to average bids or cost per click. So raise the budgets overall if you can. Reduce bids a bit. You don't want to be getting those top spots on a day like Prime Day. You'll just be paying astronomical bids for that. And that should help you go throughout the day. I mean, if you have, most of us are on some kind of limited budget. Not everybody has $1 million to spend a day. So think about your budgets, make them last a long time, bring those bids down.
Thank you, Andrew. I think those are really, really good strategies. It's always good to hear, your take on PPC. And yeah, I would like to join also Pearl in saying that your agency has always been on such a high level, and we've also worked together for a couple of years, and we'd love to continue that as well. But what I also wanted to ask you about were the effective strategies to drive off-platform traffic and conversions during Prime Day itself, considering the increased competition and considering that selling on Amazon is now not what it was a couple of years ago. So what's your take on that?
So I personally, inside my agency, and one, you guys are so complimentary. Thank you so much. Make me nervous up here. But in regards to the off Amazon traffic, I think it's definitely, I've been studying it for 18 months, 24 months, just really understanding, trying to figure out TikTok funnels, email funnels, Google shopping, and what the impact has on organic search, and all these off Amazon to Amazon strategies. These are something you're going to want to have in place and working, not testing during Prime Day. So if you have a great email list, that's probably your best bet in regards to off Amazon strategies that I think is just a home run win, because you're not going to spend a lot. It's an email. You should do several blasts. You can talk about big promotions you have. So just think about it. It's something you want to be testing and trying before Prime Day. Prime Day isn't really the day to be A/B testing, in my opinion. You might try one big test that year or two big tests that year to see something that happened, but you're going to want to have some of these things outlined before you get there. But think about, just to list off some of those, what those things could be: Google Shopping, Google AdWords, TikTok, funnels to Amazon, that's paid media, email. It could be social, it could be influencers, it could be any number of things. These are all amazing things. Don't complicate what you're doing too much. I came with simple tips today because I didn't want to just like come out with rocket science that no one's able to apply to their business. But maybe think about one of those that you think you can execute on well, and see what it can do for your business this year.
Yeah,
Very
awesome.
helpful.
Thanks. I especially agree with the TikTok strategy as well, which is, everyone implementing. So thank you so much for your take on that. It was really interesting.
Jan, I see a question came in from the audience from Mike Tuffer. Let's see who could answer this one. So his question is, do you do ads on top of your Prime deal? If so, do you expect to be profitable, or do you do it to stay competitive? Andrew, do you want to answer this one, or Brandon?
Yeah.
Okay,
let's tag team this one, Brandon. So I would say that you're always at risk of eating your margin if you're double dipping. I mean, if you've got a big promotion or a coupon in place enough to get eyeballs on a Prime Day or a Prime Day deal, you have to understand that, adding advertising into that, regardless if the conversion rates go up or the ROI is great or whatever, you're double dipping on your margin. This can hit brands even outside of Prime Day. You can be doing promotions or cross-selling or coupons, not be paying attention, advertising heavy on those ASINs, and just eat up your profitability. So you got to be tracking that well. But in general, you're trying to choose a product that you're not upset with about losing margin. This day, to me, Prime Day is not a day of like making money so much as it is gaining massive momentum on Amazon during a day where you have a ton of shoppers in the building. This is where like sponsored display or some of these other things can come in to retarget those customers. If you have especially if you have a product that's a consumable that you can get people coming back, like Subscribe and Save, I would willingly take a pretty big loss on products if I know my customer retention rate is high and I'm hoping to get them back on Subscribe and Save or something like that, get that customer coming back. Think a little differently if you have a one and done product, but ultimately there's no point in running the deal if you're not going to get eyeballs on it. Brandon, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree. I think the LTV, like lifetime value of the customer, really factors into what you're willing to pay, what that acquisition cost is. And Prime Day, there are a ton of factors with regards to how aggressive you should be. Everything from your inventory levels to the goals that you have with the product. And it is a day where you can really spike the algorithm, improve your metrics from a conversion rate perspective for a few days, actually. And so I was going to talk a little bit more into that in detail as well when I get a chance. But I agree with you.
I would also just chime in here and say you want to get super clear on what the definition of lifetime value is. Because in my opinion, in retail, there's no such thing as lifetime. So you need to make sure that you're very clear around how long you expect that customer to deliver value to your business.
Right.
And then also get clear about the value piece in the lifetime value. Are you looking at revenue? Are you looking at profit? And how will that compound over time?
Thank you, Chad. There's one more question that came in from Mohammed. I don't know if somebody wants to answer this and live or just type an answer. Could you please share some valuable strategies for supplement niche where CPCs are above $4?
I can add to that. So, it's hard to know. Let's say you have your numbers in place. You know that your customer retention rate is 40%, something like this, something you can build a brand around, meaning 40% of your customers are coming back and buying again. That's what's going to allow you to run PPC at a negative rate in order to keep customers ongoing. It's very hard. I think if you have a low price supplement, let's say $20 or less, let's say a pet supplement or something like that, you've got, you know, a $20 supplement, to be spending $4 to go get new customers can be really tricky. I can say that in the last 8 months, I launched a supplement brand. We've hit 1.3 million as of the end of May, in 8 months with 6% tacos, very low PPC. And the way that we did that is this is an influencer founded brand. This is a guy with a YouTube channel, a massive YouTube channel. He talks about his foods and supplements there. And we're combining that along with PPC to get results on Amazon. So I believe that if you're in the supplement space, you've got an uphill battle. You know, influencer marketing is really the way to go, and make sure you ensure a home run here. Know your numbers. You got to really know your numbers. So if you can understand your customer retention rate and how many of those customers that you might be losing money on to go get are going to come back and buy. You know, otherwise you're just losing money. But a short tip maybe with what you have right now is simply, you know, you have to really think outside the box and how you can go get those customers. If going head to head costs you $4 and you just can't be profitable with those keywords, what are some other ways with PPC, potentially like different descriptive keywords or cross promoting products or things like that that can ultimately get you some sales without breaking the bank?
I don't know if I'm allowed to
Awesome.
chime in because this isn't my subject, but I was just going to add that a lot of times when you're gearing up to Prime Day and or Christmas or whatever holiday season or seasonality your product has, a lot of times people don't take into account the halo effect of a deal. And so you want to pay attention not only to what your increased marketing will be on the actual day of, but the leading up to it and then right after it. So to increase the halo effect of that increased revenue and sales to increase your ranking at a longer term. So consider that for your strategy when you're thinking, should I do a deal and increase marketing? There's not going to be one answer for every single product, but potentially the answer might be increase marketing just before, pull back a little, and then increase again. And so you have to really consider how saturated your market is, but always consider the picture of before, during, and after when you're thinking about your marketing plan.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was really, really
Yeah,
great insight.
and you should interrupt anytime because whatever you say is
anytime.
smart. Yeah, you're just one of those
Because
smart.
you always have so many good things to say. You're a smart cookie, so like feel free to interrupt anytime. But I would like to ask a final question to Andrew, since both you and Lisa, you know, you mentioned the coupons and the cross promotional products. Could you discuss a little bit the use of promotions and coupons on social media, you know, to boost Prime Day sales in a way, Andrew?
Yeah, I think simply put, you know, the logic behind it is as a coupon, everyone likes to get a deal. Everyone likes to get a deal, even if you're not a frugal person, even if you're like, you know, there's something about getting a deal that everyone likes. And so what you're trying to do with your coupons, for example, or a social media deal is essentially get people's attention, get them excited about something, make them feel something towards your product. Oh, I have to get this. If you can create urgency, that's a home run. You know, this is only during Prime Day, 50% off this electronic. You know, a lot of times you see with electronics because they have good margins. Once this deal is done, it's gone. That's what you're trying to create with urgency there. I think with social media, a big play here is simply create some exclusivity. So to my Instagram followers only, here's a code for Prime Day, or here's something that they can use. This is only for you guys. This is for my community that's on Instagram. This is for my community that's on Telegram. This is for my TikTok audience, whatever that can be. Using social media, give them something that makes them special for going from Instagram all the way to Amazon and buying your product. You want to make them feel special. I think the cross promotions is really where I get the most excited, because this is where you can really impact your business long term. It's not just for Prime Day, but you know, you might have a product that's out in front and that's getting eyeballs. You know, if you're doing cross promotions well, this is where you can get that new supplement that's $4 a keyword to you know, getting any traction. You could cross sell it with another, let's say, pre-workout or supplement or thing like that that's really doing well. And instead of needing to spend PPC, you're cross-selling. So the better you can do that in regards to having it in your A+ page where they're easily able to see the rest of your products. Maybe it's your storefront, they're coming in from a sponsored brand, they're able to see all of your products. Maybe it's a PDP graphic that shows some of the suite of your products. There's a lot of different ways to cross promote, but you piggyback that with, you know, a buy one, get one, a BOGO deal, or potentially even if you get outside the box and you co-market with another brand and you create a deal where if they buy them together, they get some kind of promotion. There's a whole bunch of ways here that you can have some fun, but in general, you're just trying to create buzz. You're trying to create excitement. You're trying to grab people's eyeballs when there's a million other things trying to get their eyeballs, trying to make them feel special. What I will say here is don't waste your time if you're not bringing real value with your deals. If you're going to go 10% or something like that, that's just like, this is more of like just give them a free napkin. You know, this doesn't work. So think about your deals. If you're going to go in here, you got to know your margins because you need to give them good value with the promotion or the coupon. I've just done too many Prime Day deals where the brands want to be super conservative with what they give out in regards to a discount or an offer, and we fall flat on our face. So yeah, think value here, think excitement, and I'll leave it.
Andrew, I see in the chat box, somebody asked what cross promotion is. If you could just put it back in the chat box, that'd be helpful so I can move on, because I want everybody to hear from you. And I mean, we have a lot of people on, so let's try to move on. Thank you, Andrew. Really helpful. Michelle, I don't really know you that well, but if you're a part of this group, then you must be special. I guess I'll get to know you as we continue. So from what I understand is you are, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you specialize in. Go for it.
Not a problem. So I work with VantageBP, and we focus on online brand protection. So both from removal of unauthorized resellers, IP infringements, counterfeit listings, as well as on the opposite side of the spectrum, working with brands to monitor and enforce their MAP policies, as well as if we ever see brands who have, fake websites that pop up, we can go in and remove those for them. And then we also help brands with copy audit reporting.
Amazing. Wow. Amazing. Thank you. So,
how about brand registry?
You know what? We actually don't do brand registry. We really focus on like what's happening on the marketplace versus setting them up on the marketplace. Vero will set people up with, but brand registry we leave to the brand.
Okay.
Very cool. Okay, so definitely something that's going to be super important. I have a question for you for sellers right now. They're pricing things, and Andrew spoke a little bit about either lowering or hiring prices and putting in those special for Prime Day and all the good stuff. So a question that comes to mind is, who should be concerned about MAP pricing, and why is implementing and monitoring MAP pricing significant for Amazon sellers? So they want to run a special for Prime Day. So let's speak on that. What are some issues that might come up if that does happen?
So actually running a special on Prime Day, if people have a MAP policy in place, isn't an issue. They would essentially just work with whoever's doing their MAP monitoring for them, that they would kind of put a MAP break on the item for that time period. Some people just drop that MAP price to 0. Some people do the MAP price at whatever the Prime Day price is going to be, so that their other sellers have the ability to match it, but not necessarily be below it. But from both a brand perspective and an authorized seller perspective, having a MAP policy is extremely important, because it's one of the few things that allows you to help maintain healthy margins. And also from a distributor side of things, you can negotiate with them, put a MAP policy in place, and then that way sellers that maybe you don't want to be listing your product in certain avenues still have pricing expectations that they need to withhold. So for a brand, when they do put that into place, they do want to ensure that they are actually monitoring and enforcing it, because if they're not, then people are just going to run rampant. So that is a huge part of putting the MAP policy in place, is making sure that you are running scans every day, pulling information in, sending violations out as needed. We have actually seen for brands on our end that have implemented the policy and that have us enforced both on their authorized sellers as well as on unauthorized sellers that we have identified through our brand protection system, that they have seen a reduction in MAP violations by 90% over just a 3-month period, which is huge.
That's really interesting. And here's one for me. And I was wondering, how does map pricing work when running promotions and offering significant discounts for special events such as the Prime Day itself?
Yeah, so it's actually, they have one of two options there. They can either just, you know, let whoever, whatever service they're using know, hey, for this time period, these items, this item, whatever it may be, isn't going to be part of MAP, you know, just don't enforce on it for this time period. Sometimes we have brands who will actually just take like a MAP break. So, you know, Black Friday through Cyber Monday, oftentimes they will just have us pause scanning, have us pause sending out violations, because it's kind of a everyone do what you want to do at this point to be promotional. So they can apply the same sort of logic and process to Prime Day items as well.
Got it. Thank you. That's pretty much more clear to me now. Thanks.
Okay, very cool. Another question that came up. How could sellers strike a balance between competitive pricing and maintaining MAP pricing policy? So I see some questions coming in regards to that. Could you provide insight into the legal aspects or regulations related to MAP pricing on Amazon? Yoni, I see in the chat you explained a little bit about it, but Michelle, if you could expand with this type of question, that would be helpful.
Definitely. So I would say that probably my answer to this question is not maybe the answer that some sellers want to hear or may not agree with, but there is the important part of looking at it from the brand's perspective, meaning that pricing can't always be a race to the bottom for someone to win the buy box because they've taken the lowest margin on an item. At the end of the day, when you're looking at pricing in that manner, it can start to cause quality issues. It can start to affect the brand's reputation. And when you think back on it, brands that are in demand for sellers, as you know, a retailer, as a marketplace, whatever it may be, they're in demand and they're profitable because they have spent time, money, vast amounts of resources on product development, marketing, advertising in order to make the brand popular and to cause sellers to want to resell it for them. So having MAP pricing in place, maintaining specific margins, allowing the brand to maintain the message that they want to send to the consumers is actually really important. I know sellers a lot of times just look at it as like, well, I don't need to make, you know, a 45% margin or whatever it may be. I can function off of a 20% margin because I don't have the overhead there. But that ding to the brand's margin is going to affect the money that they have to continue to build the reputation, advertise, market, etc., to make that brand continue to be popular and, you know, compete with other brands in the similar arena. From a legal aspect, because Vantage is not a law firm, I'm not a lawyer myself, I don't like to get too deep into that. Obviously, it's best, you know, if you can speak to your internal legal counsel on things like that. But the couple of things that I do like to speak to with MAP is that one thing to be conscious of when you're setting up the policy, if it doesn't exist or if you're revising an existing policy, is that you are using the word unilateral with your MAP policy and not just a minimum advertised pricing policy. When you do have the verbiage unilateral within your policy, it actually allows you some additional options for enforcement against violators that just a MAP policy would not. That makes it, you know, fall under legal parameters. So when you have that unilateral MAP policy, you can enforce against violators by withholding shipments, withholding co-op advertising dollars, things that will make them want to fall in line with the policy. In terms of kind of Amazon and MAP or just marketplaces in general and MAP, marketplaces don't enforce UMAP for the brand. That's something that brands have to do on their own, whether they have a process internally that they can use or if they engage with a service to monitor and enforce for them. But it is essentially something that if you are selling to a marketplace in a 1P like setup, that you can actually get the marketplace to come into compliance with MAP based on enforcing violations with shipping suspensions or, you know, co-op advertising money suspensions that helps them to come into line with what you want your pricing strategy to be.
Nice, super helpful.
I'm gonna bite real quick on this. I have a pretty strong perspective on pricing, clearly running a pricing software. But what I see is the classical example of diapers.com versus amazon.com. And so what diapers did back in the day was they actually started to change bundles and the assemblies of their diapers. So if amazon.com is selling a 36 pack, diapers.com would have a 24 pack or a 57 pack, and they would use a different UPC code or a different identifier and product manufacturer code to differentiate the two products. So essentially it was harder for Amazon to shop the products. So when people come to me at Prophecy and they talk about, hey, what do I do about channel conflicts? Or I want to start selling into Target, one of the things I suggest is really start thinking about what you're going to be selling to that marketplace, because Amazon does have the competitive price thresholds in place. And if you're a big selling client on Amazon or a big listing and ASIN on Amazon, Amazon's going to essentially hit you hard around their price parity issues that they have off channel. So just think about the products you're giving to Target. And the worst thing that can happen is Target gets, let's just say, all your SKUs, and they're all shoppable by Amazon and scrapable by Amazon. And now Target is hijacking 98% of your revenue from Amazon, and Target's only producing 2%, but you can't adjust pricing whether it's up or down.
Thank you, Chad. I think we'll move into you next then. You know what? If you open up the floor, let's go for it. Listen, so in line with being everybody's getting a nice introduction, let me make sure to do the same for Chad. So Chad is not just a business guy for us. So for me and Ephraim, he's a dear friend. That I will say. Super, super humble guy, successful, obviously. But yeah, Chad, I just want to say many years ago, you mentored me to do my first webinar, and now I'm hosting you. How cool is that? How cool is that? I was shaking the first time. Oh, was I nervous? But
you crushed it though. You crushed it.
I just want to say thank you to you again publicly. Okay.
I also just want to add that I
ahead.
love your content on LinkedIn. I just absolutely love it. Just to add that also on top of everything else that you do and you did.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely love it.
Jana, we're gonna host another
ado.
show. We're gonna host another show at one point where it's just gonna be about compliments. So yeah, this is what we're gonna be doing.
Oh yeah, totally. Compliments 101 by Pearl and Jana. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Jana, you have any questions for Chad?
Yeah, sure. So I really like, as I said, like your content and what you're doing, and always, talking about so many different things. But what I want to know is how do actually sellers leverage data to identify pricing opportunities? You already, talked a little bit about the pricing, and how to also effectively manage inventory. Make informed decisions, lots of things like during Prime Day. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, so just to say hi, everybody, I'm Chad Rubin, founder of Prophecy. I've been in this game for about 20 years. I'm like a Super Nintendo on this phone call, on this Zoom call, between Prosper Show, Stubana, and running my own e-com business. So been at it a long time. I've made a lot of mistakes. And so one of those mistakes is really around pricing after I sold Stubana. And so what I realized is that pricing is about signals. You need to know what signals to look for, and most brands rarely change price. So whether or not you decide to use Prophecy, that's besides the point, but what you can do today to prepare for Prime Day and to leverage data is to really what I call the 3 C's, where you want to centralize, establish a cadence, and connect pricing to other parts of your departments internally. So when I say centralize, you want to actually start housing your pricing materials somewhere. So this is the source of truth. And really, you want to apply that source of truth with intent to whatever ASINs you're managing. So your intent might be to maximize profit, or your intent might be to rank higher for a product, or maybe your intent is to liquidate, but you need to have and centralize data around what you want to do with that. That's the first C. Second C is you want to establish a really nice rhythm. So I started Prophecy because we had no rhythm around pricing. There's too much data, but I actually made pricing integral to the topic. We have L10s, we run traction at my own business, level 10 meetings in my e-com company. And we essentially would integrate pricing as a dedicated scorecard topic in our business updates. So we had pricing committees to work out kinks, because pricing, this is the third C, connects to every other department. So your pricing discipline is connected to your finance team, to your advertising team. It's really the roadmap to innovation and your competitive positioning at the company. So you want to have a source of truth for everything. So those are the 3 C's. And you want to get a pricing committee off the ground immediately to figure out what's working and what's not working. And I saw there was a survey that came in around who here is increasing price, but increasing price is not always the most optimal decision to make when running an Amazon business. There's so many gurus out there that say, hey, increase price. And to me, that's actually reckless behavior because there's something called the knock-on effect at Amazon. So your pricing today affects your orders tomorrow. So you need to actually, it takes a lot of work to pull in this data, understand it, sift through all the signals, and to have a continuous process around pricing on Amazon.com and to establish a pricing cycle. I know that was probably a long answer, but I'm hoping that I killed that response.
You did, and a shout out to EOS, whoever runs on EOS, including Frisbee. We
By
love
the
it
way,
here.
I want to interrupt here. Chad,
Yep.
we put a poll up asking about pricing strategy to see if the participants and attendees here have any pricing strategy, long-term one, at least for their ASINs. And it seems like it's running live. Most of them are saying no. We're gonna publish the panelists. You guys see the polls that we're running through this or
Yep.
no?
Yep.
Okay,
absolutely.
good. So,
And Yoni, I think that's a good point, right? What we found is that most sellers rarely change price because everyone is in this Amazon matrix and most people are focusing on the numerator, which is, if you look at ACoS in general, it's what you spend relative to your revenue. Most people are focusing on the numerator and never change price. And so what we really want to do is establish a cadence, and specifically at Prophecy, we're a true AI company where we actually have a hyper learning phase, which actually makes small changes to price to see how Amazon, your customers and your competition react to price changes. And we use that to train our model so you can actually go and push the optimal price to the channel to maximize profitability.
Yeah, what's interesting though is that we ran another poll asking if sellers plan to increase their price or pricing over time, and most of them said yes. So they do plan to increase it. I think there's a challenge where they don't know when and how and who, meaning there's no strategy, because most of them said they don't have a strategy. So it's a little bit of a limbo. So I think it's a good element for everybody to kind of think about.
Yeah, nobody knows the direction to go in, right? And that's really the challenge, because essentially if you increase price, sure, you can have a nice dramatic effect, but also you can affect your ranking position on Amazon. If you lower price, you increase your demand, it increases velocity, which means that you'll actually create more absolute profit dollars, offsetting that decrease in price. But most importantly, you now have an opportunity to earn an organic own spot on Amazon instead of renting that spot with PPC, which can have lasting impact and compounding effects on your profit.
Yeah. So Chad, I guess that leads into a question. I have a question here. So obviously you're putting in all the benefits of what it could help. Obviously, Prophecy is an AI tool or repricing tool. What are the risks associated to using AI when it comes to repricing, on your product?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we have to define what real AI is specifically. But in terms
so
of like,
define it then. Go for it.
Yeah, so real AI. So in the Amazon world, right, there's a lot of softwares out there that say that they're AI, and really it's just if-then statements that are masquerading as AI. And so what I define as AI is a self-learning, evolving system that's capable of self-improvement. That's not just wheat-based logic. That's if this, then this. Because what true AI does is it builds nested nodes of if-then statements that are beyond the human's brain of comprehension. And so what we do at Prophecy is we program our AI to create its own nested nodes, but the outcome for us is to maximize profit without sacrificing BSR. So I'm just going to put that out there as my definition of AI. Now, if you look at how we approach AI specifically, is AI actually is susceptible to errors and is susceptible to hallucinating, right? If you look at ChatGPT can sometimes go off the rails and give you a response that you're like, huh, what? WTF. So we actually have supervised learning behind our AI. So every single day, our data science team is going and looking at your profit dashboards for our clients and making sure that the integrity of your ASIN and your listings are intact. And so one of those is actually, think about what we were talking about with Michelle earlier, is around price parity, right? or competitive thresholds that are hit on Amazon. And so we've built inside Prophecy, one of the fears is, hey, what happens if my listing is suppressed? And so we built in listing suppression technology into our platform to ensure that that never happens.
Got it. Okay, very helpful. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so Lisa, I'm gonna pivot slightly with you, and then Brandon, I'm gonna move on to you after that. I know everybody's excited to hear from both of you. Lisa, so we're gonna move on a little bit to Buy with Prime, and I'd love to speak a little bit on that. And the way I see it is that when it comes to Prime Day, we want to be prepared not just on Amazon, but we want to use the tools Amazon has to be able to be successful off Amazon. So I guess the first question that comes to mind is, could you explain the concept of Buy with Prime and the advantages for sellers that are engaged in omni-channel selling?
Yeah, sure. So Buy with Prime is basically born out of the need to make e-commerce growth easier. It's checkout, payment processing, it's fulfillment, it's returns. These are all logistical concerns that e-commerce merchants of every size really need to navigate. And on the other side, we have the shopper angle. We've all seen like a pretty big shift in shopper behaviors in the past few years. And they want better value. They want more convenience. They want outstanding customer service. And this has become not only it's an expectation, but it's now like a need, right? And so since shoppers want more, that means that e-commerce brands need to deliver more. So the need to differentiate themselves to meet those expectations has become, you know, a lot of pressure for the Amazon seller, right? And I'll throw out some stats for you. I know that you probably have heard some of these before, but 77% of shoppers say they'll take their business elsewhere if they receive like bad customer service. 49% of shoppers abandon their cart if they feel that shipping rates are too high. And like 55% of shoppers say free shipping is the most important factor in making an online purchase, right? And so being able to sustain that as a brand owner, those are challenging numbers to hit logistically. And so with e-commerce industry growing at this pace, we want merchants to use our services and be successful on and off of Amazon.com. So we created Buy with Prime. We wanted to offer merchants the opportunity to offer that familiar, trusted checkout and delivery experience Prime members expect, but directly to their own e-commerce site, which is quite a shift from what people are used to from Amazon. Buy with Prime empowers merchants to grow their e-commerce business by attracting already engaged Amazon shoppers to merchants' websites with relevant ads and their, already trust for Prime. So Buy with Prime can help merchants convert more shoppers with fast, free delivery and checkout experience that millions of shoppers already know directly to your website. So as a merchant, right, you're looking to attract shoppers, educate your shoppers on their products, convert them to customers, and then build the relationship for future nurturing. We already talked about what that looks like, building a long-term and nurtured customer. So Buy with Prime can really help achieve that goal. In fact, Buy with Prime has been shown to help merchants increase shopper conversions by an average of 25%, which is based on just having the Buy with Prime button versus not having it. And so merchants are really seeking, like us brand owners are seeking to grow and scale. And an increase of 25% can be a just massive, powerful number for your bottom line.
Nice. So
Yeah.
is there any specific guidance on how a seller should set up Buy with Prime? Like, how does it exactly get enabled?
We have reps that will work hand in hand with our brands to help implement it. It's super easy. It's like a snippet, a code installation. It's designed that anyone with zero coding experience can implement it on their own, but we have a pretty high touch team on our side that helps implement it.
Okay, amazing. So somebody asked, who is Lisa? Lisa is a rock star in the Amazon space.
Lisa?
I mean, come on. There's only one Lisa that I know. But she works for the Buy with Prime Amazon team, and she's an incredible person and an incredible mother.
Just to
I know
repeat that, she works for Amazon. They think they should work for Buy with Prime. They think it's like a special agency. No, she works
Oh,
for
I'm so
Amazon.
sorry. Amazon.
She works for Amazon, and Amazon has a special team called Buy with Prime because it's a special program called Buy with Prime. I think Lisa gives us the short again, I guess, option or opportunity for Buy with Prime in a few words, just so now they understand the structure. That you work for Amazon. There's a Buy with Prime option. What is
I should
that?
have said that. I should have said that. I work for Amazon. Buy with Prime is a new program. It's relatively new. It's a little over a year and change. And it essentially brings the Prime benefits of the way all the benefits that your customers want on Amazon.com. So fast, free shipping, free returns, the logistics that are involved in warehousing, all of that, but bringing that to your website. And so the way I would explain it to someone is you see on your website, go to whatever website you want, and you see add to cart at the checkout. So then an additional Buy with Prime button can be added underneath it. And through that button, you would see the date that the delivery promise. That essentially has been shown to help increase conversion just due to the trust of the Amazon Prime member.
Nice. Yeah, it seems like we ran a poll that 70% of the attendees here approximately are familiar with the program, which is good. So if you have any questions, you want to learn more, make sure to reach out to Lisa and her team with Amazon. They'll help you to answer any of them or help you integrate if you want to adopt the option. So it's a good opportunity to convert more. That's kind of the bottom line, and Amazon and its logistics prowess and its branding can help you guys. So consider that.
Yeah. So one more thing I would highlight, just as like, I'll go off of this for a minute, is that most of the customers or one of the major pain points that our merchants feel on a day-to-day basis, since we were talking about this before, so I'll just tap it again, is we talk about getting a long-term the value of a customer and re-engaging and retargeting. And so that is really, really essential, and especially something we want to think about during this time period where we're increasing our marketing, we're creating deals, we're doing all this incredible amounts of work to bring in more revenue and more sales during Prime Day. And so one of the things that's probably most exciting about Buy with Prime is that in this environment, you get to maintain and keep all the customer data. So that would include the customer name, address, email, phone number, all of it. And so potentially utilizing that information for retargeting after Buy with Prime can be pretty powerful.
We have a quick question by James Lloydie. I hope I pronounced it correctly. For the Buy with Prime, does the pricing have to match the same item between a website and Amazon?
That's a great question. The answer is no. The answer is no, that it's not a must. It has been advised by many that it should, but it does not need to be.
Hi, thank you. Jana, I know you were very excited for the next panelist, so I'm going to give you the floor. Brandon,
Yes, Brandon
was like a
Young.
secret
You are
direct
my-
messaging situation here. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I really want to like intro Brandon because we've been in love with the data dive tool ever since it was like not out in public basically, and just general like a big fan of Brandon and just being such an OG in the space and SEO expert, eight-figure seller, CEO of Data Dive. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, is there anything else you want to add, Brandon? I'm sure there is.
No, I think
Oh.
I appreciate you. Yeah. Like with regards to what subject? Because I feel like we could spend another 2 hours. I literally just did a 2-hour class on Prime Day yesterday. Prep, PPC, how the algorithm works. So I can go in a number of directions here. So I'd love to, just if you want me to just start digging in, I could definitely go. But thank you for your shout out as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was like more of a, just giving you a statement, not actually expecting you to talk about 2 hours, which I'm sure you can. But I would just like to ask you a couple of questions about Prime Day to love to pick your brain on this, and would love to hear about a little bit about the key data metrics and analytics that sellers should focus on to optimize their performance. Specifically about during Prime Day, like what are your top tips on that, like some actionable items that people could try out and see for themselves for this Prime Day?
Yeah, so I think that the most important thing for people to understand about Prime Day is that it's a huge opportunity to improve your overall metrics, which can push keyword ranks, but you need to first solve the problem of conversion rate. No amount of sales, like you really have like two levers that you're pulling with regards to your product, and it's going to be your offer value, which can be displayed from a content perspective, a design element, or your pricing. And so the better your offer, the more you can charge and still convert. And so I think people need to understand how the algorithm works as a foundation, and then solve conversion before you drive traffic, right? And so I want people to really take a step back and really analyze their listings and really make sure that they're doing all they can to get great images, great written content that will speak to the buyer. And I know that that is your wheelhouse, because you actually do all the translations for the different marketplaces. And I know I've personally seen results that you drive by changing the language in a listing because someone just used Google Translate, for example, or they just did a keyword research and just threw in a bunch of keywords, and then you go in and actually write a good listing using those keywords, and it converts significantly better. So I think people need to understand that the algorithm for ranking is a performance times relevancy. And I don't know if I'm able to share slides, but I can actually just share a quick slide on this.
I think you're
that
good.
maybe
Yeah,
is the right way if these questions would stop popping up. Let me see. Yeah, I can do this. I think this is the best way to kind of describe it, right? So if we're looking here at the ranking algorithm is relative to your competition, but really it's just performance times a relevancy score. And the way that you establish your relevancy score will be how you wrote your listing and how the algorithm sees your listing and what subcategory you're in. So for a specific keyword, your performance on that keyword and related keywords will give you credit. The better your conversion rate, the better your click-through rate, and the more revenue you drive through that keyword and related keywords will be then multiplied times the relevancy. But it's not just a one-time performance times relevancy. And I'll speak a little bit about the relevancy as well. The relevancy is driven by the match type. So if I want to search for or sell dog food, I'm selling I don't want dog bowls showing up, right? So Amazon really controls and gates what shows up by the relevancy, and they're going to know what you're selling based on the way you wrote your listing and what subcategory you're in, and therefore they can control basically where you are. But if everything is equal, if you've written the keyword in exact form in the beginning of your title and your competitor did the same thing, you've established a maximum relevancy of a score of 1. But if you only wrote it in broad form or didn't include it, or Amazon's not sure, then that relevancy score is less than 1. So your performance is multiplied by something that's going to get dragged down. So 100 times 0.5 will only be 50, whereas your competitor has a score of 80 times 1. They're still going to rank better than you, even though their performance is worse. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Now, what happens is that the algorithm will take into consideration the performance over a lot of different periods of time, and then multiply those different averages by a different weight. Now, this is just for just for concept, so you understand the exact weight. I don't know, but it would be like a 1-day average, a 3-day average, a 7-day average, a 14-day average, 30 and 60, and so on. And so this was super relevant for people to understand, because the 30-day average to me is probably one of the most important ones. It's weighted very, very heavily. It's definitely more than 0.6, but when you get past 30 days, the performance over those 30 days really drops off. And so what we see with deals and deal days and lightning deals is that if you run a deal like a full lightning deal or a 1 week deal, like a 7-day deal, at least once a month, and you have them within a 30-day window together, you see a lingering impact that pushes your ranks down and actually improves your keyword ranks over time. But if you do a lightning deal on 1 day and then 6 weeks later, another lightning deal, you don't see a long-term effect pushing your ranks down over time, or your keyword ranks, up and your BSR down. And so the 30-day window is really important for people to understand. But this is why when you run out of stock for more than 30 days, it's also really hard to get your listing back, because you have a lot of zeros being averaged in for your performance, right? And so like knowing the algorithm and how it ranks or how ranking works is super important for Prime Day and deals, simply because you're going to be able to see, and I have an example here. Like this is a good example. This seller is running an influencer deal here. And so you see a massive dip. They don't, they lower the price slightly, but they don't really have to lower the price too much. And they have a massive influencer making a post off of Amazon to drive a bunch of sales to Amazon. And the reason we know this is an off Amazon deal is because Amazon will actually mark lightning deals with little red dots. And I'm using a tool here called Keepa. It's a very, very common one, Keepa. And so look at how this impacts over time, right? This deal lasts a few days, but then the BSR average is actually lower over time. But you'll see here that once they hit the 30-day mark, the average goes back up to what it kind of was over here, right? Because that 30-day window is now closed and the average performance is now what it was before, which basically means that the rank is going to be what it was before relative to the competition. And so now they run another deal. They should have probably run that deal over here within 30 days, and it would have been a lot more beneficial over time. And you'll see that people use deals regularly. This guy doesn't run it often enough, and it kind of just maintains its rank, right? He's just running deals to maintain, and he's got a very good BSR. But here's a strategy where you see it actually impacting. Over time, they run a lot of deals, and you see it brings it down, and then the average is just better over time. So the reason that that's happening is because the performance, the overall performance side, the click-through rate, the average performance of the click-through rate, the conversion, and the revenue is spiked on that deal day. And so it's not just Prime Day or Prime Day week that you need to take advantage of. It's going to be, other lightning deals and deals you should take advantage of. Now, for Prime Day specifically, it's really important. The most important thing that I think no one's really spoken about is that Amazon a couple years ago changed the way they do Prime Days. It used to be that we wouldn't change anything. We wouldn't run any deals. We would just kind of keep our price the same and then just benefit from all the additional shoppers, right? That doesn't work anymore. And the reason that doesn't work is because they have a Prime Day exclusive badge. And the Prime Day exclusive badge is really, really important to get, because Amazon, when you land on Amazon during Prime Day, or people click in from an email or from some sort of traffic source for Prime Day specifically, Amazon filters and funnels the buyers into different search results that only show people with Prime Day deals. So if you don't have that Prime Day deal badge, that Prime Day exclusive deal badge, you're going to end up basically not getting as many eyeballs, and you won't benefit the same way you would. And so it's really, really important that you understand how that badge works and how to get that badge without giving away the house. Basically, a lot of people are saying you should, you want to make sure your pricing is good, but you can basically display as if your pricing is a lot better for Prime Day without it actually being that much better. And so the way that it works is that Amazon has a couple requirements for the Prime Day badge. And I'll scroll down here. This is all the stuff that I went through last night. Let's see. Okay. So in order to get the badge this year, you have to be a seller with at least a 4-star rating. The product must have a rating of at least 3.5 stars or no rating. And you can be a brand new seller too. But so if you have 0 reviews or like on your product, like a rating of 0, then that's fine. But otherwise, you have to have at least a 3.5. Now, here's the thing: to get the badge, you have to give a discount of at least 20%. So your actual discount could be between 20 and 80%, but 20 is the minimum. The other part of that is that the discount must be 15% lower than the MSRP, the reference price. Now, let me show you what that is, right? Let me see. That's this one. That's your list price on the back end, is your MSRP, right? So it has to be 15% discount. Now, this is pretty common. We have a spread here of about 50%. Now, this price, if it's too high based on your actual selling price, you won't get the cross out, which looks really good on on search results. So you have to make sure that you get that cross out. Now, so you might need to lower and make this closer in price, because a few years ago, Amazon got sued for basically deceitful marketing practices by allowing sellers to get that cross out and try to purport that their discount was huge, right? They would say 70% off, but they really never sold at that higher price, so it was bullshit. So what they do now is they make you make sure either you've made sales at that higher price legitimately, or that price is within a certain percentage. So you have to be really careful here. But this is the MSRP, and you need to have your actual selling price to be at least 15% below this. Now, the other thing is that it needs to be the lowest price in the last 30 days, including any deals or promos or sales that you've done. And again, this is your sale price. So it needs to be lower than this price. So what I've done is I've created a formula here that says, okay, if I want my final selling price to be below this price and at least 20% off, I'm going to raise my price before Prime Day, offer that 20% off, get the badge, but not give away 20% off of what I normally sell at. So what I'll do is I'll actually do my starting price is what I'm trying to find. What should my price be? What am I going to raise it to? And so it's going to be whatever your desired final selling price is. In this case, I'd want to be selling for $19.90 or maybe $19.49, right? And so I just do $19.49 divided by 0.8. And that's going to get me what I need to raise my price to. So if I do that really quickly, $19.49 divided by 0.8, I raise my price to $24.36. Then I run my Prime deal. I actually go sign up for my Prime Day deal, which is this button here, right? You sign up and actually execute your Prime Day per SKU. And then like an hour before Prime Day starts, I raise my price to that $24 and change. Then I have the 20% discount. My final selling price is only 50 cents lower than it was non-Prime Day deal, but it looks great. And so I'm still able to take advantage of all the additional traffic, that badge, and really crush sales. And you'll see that we executed this last year with our brands. And for the week, we basically made 2 extra weeks of sales in 1 week, with 3.5 to 4 times like sales here on the big day. But throughout the week, you basically make 2 extra weeks of sales. So that's really important that you have 2 extra weeks of inventory if you execute this properly. So that's kind of like the most important things to keep in mind for Prime Day, and in my opinion, but I'm happy
Wow.
to answer additional questions.
Brandon, my gosh, this was pretty amazing. And these slides are also pretty amazing. Very, very clear. I'm sure the audience really appreciated your insight. I'm just saying the retention rate on this webinar is one of the best I've ever been on. It's been steady the whole time. So kudos to all of you. I see some questions came in. So I think we'll take some questions and then we'll pivot slightly and we'll give Jacob the floor, and we'll give the international selling world a little bit insight, and Jacob, you'll help us out, and maybe I could give some insight over there for the more experienced sellers on. So a couple questions that I see that came in. So firstly, this came in earlier, Brandon or anybody else that wants to step in. How early should we start increasing the PPC spend in order to be well positioned for Prime Day?
Yeah, I know that I start at Prime Day, right? Like, so I have my campaigns primed and ready to go. And then when the deal starts, so essentially what's going to happen is you're going to have a bunch of fringe campaigns that you've tested in the past that perform just okay, but they don't really impact your overall performance or your keyword ranks well. That's going to change for deal days. Those are going to end up becoming really good campaigns. Now you need to go and turn those on. But the way that we do it is that we'll typically break it down by root word, and we'll look for highly relevant root words, and we'll fire a bunch of broad and phrase campaigns on Prime Day. So basically we're looking at phrase campaigns will typically, especially if grouped by a root, and I'll explain what a root word is because maybe a lot of people don't follow. Let me jump over really quickly and I'll just give a quick example. Basically, if you have hundreds of keywords that drive sales for a product, and then you break those keywords down, all right, let me do this one. So what I'm looking at here is like a Montessori toy, like that you can put a bunch of blocks on and stuff. Essentially, we have only 22 keywords here. But if I were to go look at the root words, and maybe this wasn't a great example, you're going to see that these words all break down into repeated words and phrases. Now, a better example would be a product with hundreds of keywords, and then you would really see, but this is like garden toy, wooden carrot, harvest toy. So these are repeated words and phrases. What you're going to see over time, or you're going to see these phrases that are relevant to your product. If you only put that root phrase into search, your product would come up. So we call that a relevant root. And so those relevant roots are going to be what you want to target with your phrase and broad campaigns. And you're going to turn those on and increase your budgets. Now you have all your campaigns that are already working really well. That's the core of your business that are maintaining and pushing your keyword ranks. Increase your budgets on those and get more aggressive. Turn on even top of search and test them. For the first hour to 2 hours of the deal day, you're going to monitor your click-through rate and your conversion rate. Now, if you don't have PPC stream, then it's going to be lagged a little bit and the data is going to be a little off, but you'll still be able to see clicks and you should see some sales. If you're seeing clicks and sales, increase the budget and keep going. If you're seeing a lot of clicks and no sales, you might want to back it off, because what you don't want to do is push the performance and pull it at the same time with poor performing. So you need to kind of monitor it while it's going on. Now, those broad and phrase campaigns of the highly relevant root phrases are going to be the core of the PPC strategy. And you really want to slam those on any deal day, because what you're doing is you want to spike additional revenue, click-through rate, and conversion rate, which should be much higher on those deal days than any other day. That's going to choke out your competitors, especially in a lightning deal. When you're running a lightning deal and your competitors aren't, their sales are way down, their conversion rates way down, their click-through rates way down. People are going to see your badge, they're going to see that you're running a deal, and you're going to be able to beat them. So you want to expand on that. You want to do deals regularly to choke them out and to improve your averages, basically.
Very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I see you want to take the question from Mike too for us. He had a question for Brandon.
Yep. So Mike Toofer, he's wondering about we're often not eligible for deals for many of our ACEs. Do you know why?
It happens for a number of reasons. I think I just told someone that had the same issue yesterday, that maybe to reach out through brand registry and hopefully they can pass you to the right department. I don't know which team is in charge of deals. Lisa, do you have an org chart there with someone that you can maybe recommend, or a team at least, like who's the best email to send to get eligible for deals again?
That all depends if you want me to keep my job. No, I don't.
No, I think
I don't have the
there's an
secret.
open way. No, there's an open way. I believe if you want an Amazon rep, that's typically the privilege you have with the Amazon reps. That costs like $2,500 a month by Amazon. You kind of rent them. And they are usually typically the ones who will hook you up. So yeah, that's kind of the funneling that Amazon created for getting these reps and their special assistants and that special access to all these deals and stuff like that. So that's definitely out there.
Yeah, and I have a better example on how roots work, right? Like this is the fossil digging kits that everyone sees on Amazon, right? And I was kind of looking at it. just as an idea and a demo, you'll see that there's 449 keywords that are relevant that are driving sales for these. You know, most of them have low search volume. There's a lot of long tail keywords, which is great because those are harder to find and really go through. But there's still 79,000 search volume, even though they're mostly low. So it's something. But if you look at the roots here, you'll really see that these relevant roots would be like digging kit, right? Dig kit. Dinosaur fossil might be because no one's selling just fossils, but like really the litmus test for me to know if it's a relevant root would be if I search for that, would my product show up, right? So you got digging kit kid, you've got fossil digging, you got egg dig, you got fossil digging kit, right? You got all of these relevant roots. These are what I would be turning on with phrase and broad campaigns. And remember, I'm bidding more on the phrase and less on the broad to avoid overlap. And I'm being very aggressive. And I have my exact campaigns with a higher bid than the phrase and the broad. So that way I'm avoiding overlap just by using a bidding strategy or a key, you know, like way that I would set it up. And so if you go all the way down here, you got so many different root words that you can really turn on that these would be aggressive, like relevant roots that I would turn on for PPC, for Prime Day, and for deal days. Just as important though, it would be important for you to go in, lower you're not going to slam it off after the deal day, but you have to know that after Prime Day, conversion rates go way down because that's a whole week that people are exhausted of shopping. They've kind of already spent all their money. So that like lower all your budgets for like a day, right? Or a day or two. And then you can see how the performance of these broad and phrase campaigns go. And once you do your search term reports, you might be able to add some negatives and whatnot, but you want to see how it goes with a very small budget. So instead of spending $200 a day, you might lower it to 10 or 20. And then you kind of get an idea for the next week, how it's performing, whether you should keep it on or off. Otherwise, then you just pause it, throw it into a portfolio called Deal Day for that with that ASIN. And then on deal days, you just go back in, unpause them, raise the bids, and then you'll see. And you'll get better at it. The more deals you run, the more you'll get dialed in on which campaigns are going to do great during deals and which ones aren't.
Hey, Brandon, thank you so much. Again, the audience is staying strong, so everybody's loving your content. Thank you so much. We're going to pivot slightly right now to Jacob. So as some of you might know, or who doesn't know, I guess let me probably explain a little bit what Frisbee does. So I'm with Frisbee, and what we do is we help with Amazon global expansion in particular. So sellers that are looking to expand globally into Amazon's international marketplaces, such as like the UK, Canada, etc. Pretty much wherever Amazon has an FBA option, we can help you with the product compliance, with the actual shipping, the logistics, any value add service in order to get into that marketplace. And we work with various different partners, such as like Jana, who does translations, and Jacob, who does taxes in Canada. Jacob, I guess I would like to hear from you now that we're getting into Prime Day, and it's a lot of, I would say there's a lot of prep going on, obviously. And I would ask you, now that sellers are going to find the opportunity to perhaps launch in a new marketplace for Prime Day, or Q4 is around the corner, what would you say about, from a tax compliance side, what is very, very important for sellers to be aware of? What should they do? What shouldn't they do? I know a lot of sellers are saying, like, let me just wing it and not really register properly. Let me try this thing first. I know these are some of the things that we at Frisbee come across. So could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Amazon has, in a lot of jurisdictions, a lot of countries where Amazon is open as FBA centers, there are already laws that make Amazon, the marketplace facilitator, responsible to take care of the taxes. In Canada, it did not used to be like that until like mid-2021, and then the government really sat on it and shifted, created laws and made sure that Amazon is responsible to take care of all the taxes. So technically speaking, someone that is selling in Canada is fully tax compliant. They don't have to do anything else in order to be tax compliant. However, the reason Canadian GST should matter to someone who is planning or is doing Canadian sales, FBA in Canada. And so the Canadian, the GST system is a VAT system, a value-added tax type of system, same as you have, similarly have in the UK. So when someone is sending in products into Canada, they're paying a lot of taxes on those imports. They're paying duties, they're paying taxes. A portion of those taxes, specifically the GST paid on the imports at 5%, is basically reclaimable if you're collecting taxes properly on your sales. So sometimes people don't think about it. They're paying a lot of GST on the imports and they forget about it. And it's just money lost on the table. Money on the table they could have claimed back and they're not doing anything with it. And it's really hard to go back to those sales, to those taxes paid on imports and claim it back. The only way to do it, the proper way to do it, is to collect taxes properly on your sales, register for the GST, and then do the filing at the end of the year where you can claim back all those taxes you paid. So the reason it matters specifically right now in preparation for the Prime Day is because now sellers who are preparing their shipments into Canada for Prime Day, they're sending in a lot more products and they're paying chunks of taxes on those GST on imports. Now, the only way to make sure that you're going to be able to get that money back, is to make sure that you're registered before Prime Day, you have your tax numbers in Amazon, and you are collecting the taxes on those sales versus Amazon doing it. And you are going to be able, at the end of the year, when you're filing the taxes, and we're filing the taxes for you, that you can claim back and get back all this money that you paid in GST on imports.
Very helpful. Very helpful. Thank you so much.
I have a question,
Jana, go ahead.
just a quick one. So we also work with a lot of sellers. They expand to Canada. Basically, you just need like different measurements when it comes to content. Nothing major needs to be changed. But since we're talking about Prime Day and Prime season, why is Canadian tax compliance going to affect sellers more during Prime season than usually? I was wondering about that.
Your question is why it matters now more?
Yeah, like why is it going to affect sellers more in Prime season, the Canadian tax compliance?
The question is how much every dollar paid in GST on imports is a dollar lost if you're not filing taxes properly, right? And as you surf along the year and you're paying some taxes here and there whenever you're sending in products into Canada, you continue losing money if you're not filing taxes properly. Now, if you're preparing larger imports now into Canada in preparation for Prime Day, you're going to pay larger chunks of the GST on every import and on every shipment. And once those products are sold in Canada and you did not collect taxes properly, the money that you paid in GST, the imports is just lost. You're never going to get it back. You're never going to be able to get it back. So that's basically what it is. Whenever you pay every dollar you pay in GST in Canada, so whether it's for the GST on the imports, sometimes people have 3PLs in Canada where they're paying their fees with taxes on it. Anytime you see an expense and you pay GST on your expenses in Canada, that is basically a dollar loss if you're not collecting taxes properly.
Thanks, Jacob. That was very informative. Thank you so much.
Amazing. All right, guys. I think we're gonna try to wrap things up. Anybody have anything they want to add before we start wrapping things up? Yoni, do you want to bring the audience in? Tell us how you want to go about it. But in the meantime, any of the panelists have anything to add?
All right, so we have a few questions. Maybe we can touch these questions first and cover them, and then we can open it up to further interaction with the attendees if needed. So let's cover I think there's like 2 open questions there. So let's touch them real quick. I think they're more like branding related. So let's see if we can cover that.
Okay, so I see there's one.
Yeah.
Yep. Yana, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, sure, or you can just do it. There's an open one from Mukhtada. Oh, Pearl, this is your fan. When you target and with what strategy you go for generic keywords, what outcome can we expect from it? I think this was posted during Brandon's talk. So maybe you can take that one, or maybe somebody else can also
what was the question?
take that one. Well, it says when you target and with what strategy you go for generic keywords, what outcome can we expect from it? I think it was generic keywords are going to be super tough. And the strategy behind it, basically.
Yeah, generic keywords are usually tough. I mean, from a launch perspective, we go highly relevant first. We want to build that foundation of a lot of highly relevant keywords that are converting well. Remember, that algorithm is really based on performance relative to the competition. So if you just target the outliers, we call them, or generic keywords, they're going to convert much lower usually. So you're really diluting the performance of your listing, which will impact your ranking ability. So for the first week, really, or more, we're really just targeting those highly relevant, but we build it into the listing. And so we index for it. And then as we start to rank and we're getting organic sales and we've dialed in the conversion rate, now we start to maybe throw on some of those keywords in exact form and see how they start to do. You'll find that certain generic keywords will do better than others, but you don't want to have it weighted too heavily as far as where your sales are coming from. It just won't work.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Yeah, no problem.
Should we take another one? Also, this is for Brandon, but I feel like also others can also answer this one. But I mean, I'm just gonna read it. So whoever feels like answering it could just have it. Again, Mike Tuver, thank you so much for your question. One of our product is a #1 bestseller, but doesn't rank well organically for some reason. What's the best way to address it?
So
anyone, Chad, maybe Brandon?
Well, the question. So he says it's a bestseller, but not ranking well. Is that what they said?
Yeah, bestseller, but doesn't rank well organically for some reason. And what's the best way to address it?
Yeah, that's probably an indexing issue, and they're getting their sales. I guess they're getting the majority of their sales through ads. I would probably run a dive and see, like use data dive and see what keywords they're missing as far as routes. So sometimes you'll see it's very clear once you really look into it, different holes you have in your listing, like different ways people call a product that you just didn't write into your listing in an exact way. Now, it's really important when you rewrite your title, if it's already an existing product, you don't want to rewrite the whole title at once. You want to kind of just write one little thing at a time. So I'll give you an example, maybe by sharing that could be like really easy to understand. If you look here.
And also to just add, Mike says that the majority of sales come through ads.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So if you were to like look and you're this guy, right? Like you're not that you're National Geographic or, no, this is a great example. This is the bestseller here, right? So this bestseller is selling more units than everybody else with regards to these dino kits, these digging kits. But if you look here, he's not indexed at all for fossils for kids and geodes for kids. But you know that he's doing well on other geo keywords and other.
Can you zoom a little bit? I think it's a bit small, maybe for some others, Brandon. I don't know if you can zoom in into that area a little bit on your the Control Plus on your keyboard.
Yeah, maybe I can.
Yeah. The age is getting to my eyes.
Yeah, so we're just zoomed in here. You'll see that this green means that they're not ranked. These are the keywords, and then this is like their rank on each keyword, and all of the competitors are crossed. We had like 30 competitors here, I guess, or more, almost 40. And what we're seeing is that fossils for kids and geos for kids, they're not even indexed. Like there's no number, which means they're past page 4. Now, the reason that, what's common between these two words is kids. So if I go to this guy's listing, I'm likely not going to find kids anywhere around fossils or geodes. They might have written kids. They may not even use the word kids in their listing. And so that's what happens with a lot of people, is that they don't do the proper keyword research and write their listing based on the real search volume and search keywords data. They kind of just guess how to write their listing, or they use other tools that don't really paint the complete picture. And so that might be the case with that guy. So, but to fix that, what I would do is notice that I need to write kids into my listing, and I would probably write fossils for kids and or geodes for kids somewhere in the listing, without changing everything else, right? Like just maybe one word, and then see what happens to the organic ranks, be tracking it. And what's really interesting about when you fix your indexing is that it impacts your PPC as well, because your PPC has a relevancy score and a quality score as well. So they're going to perform, they're going to reward you with a lower cost per click and better rankings for your PPC if it's a relevant search term. So by fixing your indexing and your relevancy issue, you're actually going to improve your PPC as well.
Okay, thanks, Brandon. Should
I was
we
on mute.
should we take in the audience? Like, I think it's a good time for that.
Yeah, anybody from the
Um,
audience wants to kind of join in, turn on your mic and join the discussion, ask questions, get
Oh
further
yeah,
TLC.
one
tons of love
quick
and care.
question. Mike said I use data dive, changed the entire title at once. Yikes, what should be done? Revert back to the old title, right? Because you probably saw keyword ranks dive. Revert back to the old title. It should reindex what you had because it has a memory. Amazon has a memory. And then just go back in and change one thing that you saw an issue with. I had this same exact use case. It's incredible. The one of my inner circle members showed me his chart. He said his sales dropped. He just changed his title. It was like 2 days later. He reverted. I said revert and then add just the one keyword. He doubled his sales within 2 days from there. So he went from where he was selling like 40 units a day. It dropped because he de-indexed. And then he went back and then he only changed the one keyword and he went to like 80 sales, just doubled. So use a scalpel, not a machete when dealing with indexing in Amazon, because the algorithm can only handle so much at once.
Amazing. Okay, anybody else have any questions? And if not, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up and thank our, oh, we have one more question that came here from Sheldon. How do I relaunch a product that had issues without relabeling? Andrew, are you there, or anybody else that wants to take this question? And I see another question that came in here.
Yeah, I mean,
Brandon, go ahead.
yeah, I think that the only thing to do there is to first diagnose what was wrong with the listing. Like, why did it fail? You really need to understand that. Was it you chose the wrong design? Was it like, is it a conversion issue? Did you test that design versus the best sellers with a service like PickFu or some kind of like audience to understand how your conversion is going to be good? Did you test a bunch of new images? So did you actually dial in your content? How's your PPC performing, right? Like there's a underlying issue of why a listing fails sometimes that might not be fixable. So if you just relaunch, you might end up in the same exact position you were in, and now you're throwing good money after bad. Sometimes the answer is just to liquidate. So you need to figure out why it failed first. And then without relabeling is really tough. I mean, it's almost impossible, right? Like there used to be tricks to reset the honeymoon and do all these things, but they're kind of gray hat. I don't recommend them. They don't really work most of the time anyway.
Nice. I see Golda came in with a questionnaire. Do you only have to be careful with changing words in the title or also in the bullets and description?
Anytime you're changing the way your listing is written, you're going to have the algorithm have to reread it. And so the more you change it once, the more likely it is to mess up. So you want to kind of just make slow changes, you know, a couple phrases at a time here and there. So yeah, be careful, whatever you're doing, and be aware of what you're taking out when you change something, right?
Right. And it looks like she had no, we got this question done. One more question here. What advice do you have for products coming back after going out of stock?
It depends how long it's been out of stock, right? Like I think if it's more than 30 days, it's really detrimental. You need to basically do a relaunch where highly relevant keywords with high conversion rate only, very aggressive bids. You're basically firing everything back up. Turn off those long tail or those like those generic keywords in campaigns that were just fringe before, because you really need to make sure you've got your highly converted keywords. You might even try driving traffic from Google or from other sources, because that can help contribute to extra sales. But for the most part, you have to spend your way out of it.
Got it. Let's see if there's anything else in the chat box.
Run a
There's
lightning
one,
deal
I
too.
think.
Like remember, a deal day is really good, like we were just talking about.
Wow,
Is it-
the audience wants to go on.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Yeah,
audience,
there's a question about
is
a
on fire.
clothing brand sales volume. I don't know if Chad can has any for increasing clothing brand sales volume. I don't know if you have any experience with that.
I don't even see that question here. Where is it?
It's by
In the
Orly.
chat
What
box.
about increasing clothing brand sales volume? This is actually from the chat box, yeah, instead of the question box. A quick note on that. I don't know if you have some insights on clothing, how to
Yeah,
increase
I
pricing, pricing strategies for clothing, for apparel.
I mean, so I don't know about sales velocity specifically. I mean, I think the suggestion would probably be to advertise and be very careful which keywords you want to advertise for. In terms of pricing, like it really comes down to taking those signals, digesting those signals, and testing. Like no guru out there is going to be able to suggest whether it'll up or down in price, and if they do, I think it's reckless. So I think just testing. Like so, for me, when I turned around my e-commerce business, we started testing decisions and our thesis and hypothesis around whether to test up or test down in price. And we let data drive our decision process. And that's what I would probably be doing with, if you're looking to expand your profit, understanding what your intent is and make small changes to pricing, 1 to 2% small changes to see how that actually can increase or decrease based on all the other signals that you're putting into a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to clothing, like Chad said, with something with a ton of variations, you have to have a couple different strategies in mind. One is around which one is your hero for which keyword. So every keyword, you need to be very deliberate as to which one you want showing up in the search results. And you want to make sure that you never run out of stock of that one, because every single one of those variations has its own set of keyword ranks. So when your hero that you've been relying on to show up, the medium black one, runs out of stock or whatever, then all of a sudden your keyword ranks will drop because it'll revert to the next best one, which might be on page 2, right? So what we recommend doing is you're using different titles for different variations to improve your indexing strength, because they kind of mesh together, but you're really deliberate about like the pink one showing up for all the girl keywords, right? And so you write the girl keywords specifically into the title for the pink one because you want the strongest relevancy for it. And you're driving all of your PPC of the pink one to the girl keywords. But the black one, right, is on all the general keywords because that's the most likely one to get the clicks. So you want your hero to be like one that's most likely to get clicks. Once people come in, then they shop because they look for other variations, colors, styles. So like there's a lot to think about with regards to strategies when you have a lot of variations. I have hours of content on it. It's really deep, but it's important that you handle it correctly.
And specifically at Prophecy, we have strategies around asynchronous pricing and synchronous pricing. So let's just say the medium black, to Brandon's example. Some people want to have the same pricing set for the medium black t-shirt. For us, we let the model explore other price points and let them be disparate price points, and let the model figure out what is the optimal price point based on the different variations that you have. But you can also set it up so it's just completely synchronous as well.
Ephraim,
Let's do another question on pricing. Yeah, let's do another question on pricing. What do you think?
Yeah.
So how do you determine your pricing on launch? When do you decide to increase or decrease pricing?
So we don't actually work on pricing on launch. I mean, most people in the Amazon world, what do? They look at the competition or they mark it up, say 5x COGS, and that becomes their established price, which isn't always the optimal price. Or some people say, hey, let's look at competition and come in under $1 or under 50 cents. And maybe Brandon has a different perspective on this, but that's typically what we see of how people price. And most people, it's kind of like throwing your finger up in the air and kind of guessing to see how you can actually launch as much velocity through the channel as possible. For Prophecy specifically, and I'm speaking on behalf of how our business operates, we don't work with launch products. They need at least 6 months of sales volume so that we can actually harvest profits and to make sure that your rank doesn't deteriorate as we make changes to price.
Yeah, the launch strategy is quite a bit different. We're looking at data as well, but it's really around click-through rate, conversion rate, and performance based on pricing. So every single day we're evaluating, did we need to increase the coupon size? Do we need to lower the price? Basically what we're trying to do is throughout that first week to 3 weeks, like 4 weeks during that honeymoon period, we want to make sure that our conversion rate is basically niche leading. Like, so if, and the two things you control there really, like I said before, are going to be content and pricing. So pricing can be with coupon, without coupon, it can just be a lower price. It depends on whether you're using a lightning deal strategy. It can be super aggressive, but generally the lower your price, the better your conversion rate and click-through rate and performance. So we're about being aggressive on launch and then figuring out where that equilibrium is based on performance as we raise and test. So if we raise the price and it performs much worse the next day, we'll revert back and we'll lower it, and we'll kind of keep testing new images, new content to see where we can start to raise pricing. I think Chad's model, once you're 6 months in, is great because it does all of that a lot more effectively, looks at thousands of data points rather than the few that my team are looking at, and then can kind of autopilot it. But for the first 6 months, it has to be done manually for the most part.
Awesome. Okay, there's one question I see maybe for logistics. Ephraim, any recommendations on how to get into FBA hazmat? Do you have any recommendations on that?
No, we are not hazmat. Like we don't have hazmat certificates, so we don't even handle that in our warehousing. So I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I would like to
Yep.
ask Lisa some questions about the Amazon stock price. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, just inside trading real quick. Yeah, while we're
Let
at
me
it.
tell you
You
how
know?
much I love you, Brandon.
Oh boy. Okay, guys, we have so many questions, but you know, we will have to get back to other things that's going on behind the scenes here. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. I believe Yoni, there's a follow-up webinar to this one, right? Is there?
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
one
This is
coming up?
part one in prep for Prime Day. So amazing job, everybody. Stay tuned for the second round. We're gonna load up some more, industry leaders and engage with you guys as well. I put on the chat an email address. It's Lenny at decomcooperative.com. If you have further questions regarding this panel and panelists, we'll make sure to reroute it to the right panelists that we think are probably the best fit for your answers, or for your questions rather. And yeah, that's kind of the dynamic there. We have a recording of this, so we'll blast the emails with the video recording once it's ready. And yeah, thank you for participating. Pearl and Jenna, feel free to kind of wrap it up on the recording side, and then we'll start farewell, behind the scenes to everybody here.
Okay. Thank you so much for, being with us. I just want to say that I haven't had a webinar last an hour and 45 minutes in a long time. And this has been such an incredible audience. And thank you so much for, staying with us for all this time. And as Pearl says, this is like the most consistent audience. Like nobody literally left like during this whole time. So I'd like to thank everyone once again, all the panelists, my co-host Pearl. Thank you so much for, Brandon Army here. Yes, thanks Brandon Army as well. Yeah, it was a pleasure to be the host of this part one, definitely. So stay tuned for part two, definitely. It's gonna be in about a couple of weeks, I think.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Prime Day, and wishing the best of luck to all of you.
Bye, everybody.
Good luck, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.